Welcome to a fantastic edition of Rebellion's educational series. I'm here with Mitch Ackles, the president of the Hedge Fund Association, a luminary in the hedge fund community, someone who I have been following now for maybe 15 to 20 years. And I've attended a few of his conferences, awesome, fantastic learning opportunities. Mitch is also, by the way, very charitable. He's involved with two organizations. Mitch, thank you so much for coming on. It's our pleasure to have you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Alex. Thank you.
I wonder about the future of hedge funds, and that's why I asked you to come on. And my first question has to be crypto. Do you see that growth continuing? Do you have an opinion?
I absolutely do. I'll tell you, I'm the president of the Hedge Fund Association, and one of the things that we do for our members around the world is hold events. And we also poll our membership base and ask what they're interested in. So these members are investment allocators, pensions, endowments, foundations, family offices, the people that you would normally know that would allocate to funds, as well as all types of funds, not just hedge funds, private equity, venture capital. And the most requested topic for the past 2 years is blockchain and crypto. It's the most requested topic. We polled them every year to ask what topics they want to hear. Prior to this, the most requested topic was raising capital. So we have turned a corner where the interest on all sides, on all constituents in the alternative space is in digital assets. And I think that you could read articles every day that sort of cover the idea that funds are looking for ways to build it into their strategy, or managers themselves are allocating. We're seeing headlines on a daily basis. And these aren't small firms. These are the original multi-billion-dollar managers that have been successful without crypto, now wanting exposure to it, now personally, gaining exposure to it. So I think it's still even early days. One of the things, Alex, that I found about this space is it kind of, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes, but there is something that reminds me of sort of the period in the 2000s and the late 90s when everything was day trading. And we sort of had more of a democratization of access to information and access to market data. And that sort of helped grow a different generation of people that were familiar with investing. Everyday Americans are asking about Bitcoin. They're interested in all of this. And obviously, you've got Elon and everyone else tweeting about it. And I think that, the road ahead is going to be quite exciting for the space.
So would you buy Bitcoin? Do you own Bitcoin personally?
I do.
Awesome.
I don't make investment recommendations.
No, of course not. No. I wouldn't ask you about that. I just want to, get a sense of where you see the market, which is, you did a fantastic job on that first question. Second question is hedge fund fees. Do you see them to continue to drop? Do you see them kind of stabilizing? Do you see them rising?
Sure. Another day job I have is PR. So I often get media inquiries from major financial publications or TV networks or trade industry publications. And they write annual articles about fees going down and investors are demanding lower fees. Well, the fact is most managers have been flexible for a very long time. The 2 and 20 model might be the standard starting point for several of them, but these things have been flexible, especially with your seed investors, especially as you see what markets and what type of investors you're able to attract. So I think you've got the established firms that are sort of able to stick to their fees, and most of the emerging managers, which is the larger population, will have some flexibility in that for their investors. So I don't think it's that fees are coming up or down. I think it's always a matter of how much do you want that investor.
No, I love it. Great answer.
Yeah.
So how about marijuana? Do you see that trend growing? Do you see kind of a plateau, or do you see a decline?
So I knew that you were going to ask me something along those lines. And I'll tell you, as an industry organization, one of the things I oversee are events in 16 countries. Our main sponsors didn't want us to touch this topic. And I didn't blame them because there was controversy. Where is it legal? How can you do it? So in advance of knowing we were going to have this discussion, I sort of did an informal poll of my Twitter followers. And I asked them, because many of them are allocators and managers, whether they would invest. And I specifically was aiming for the sort of institutional investors, the pensions, endowments, foundations, family offices. And many of them said they couldn't yet. They couldn't yet because of the implications of how they were structured, how they were governed, how they viewed the laws, and the fact that it's not legal nationally yet. So I think there are, it is another area of growth. It's another area that we'll see evolve. And I think there is opportunity in it. But I think the biggest catalyst to the next step in that type of investing is going to be legalization on a national level.
No, it's funny. We had two university chief investment officers on in the last few months, and they had essentially the same answer as you to that question. So, interesting to hear, and hopefully legislation will continue towards legalization. I'm someone who thinks that marijuana should be completely legal.
I mean, think about the people that are in jail for sort of a small amount of it. And it's sort of not fair to them, and yet it's legal in other states.
Well, there was a famous chief of police in Aspen, Colorado, in that county, who said that in 30 years of working the job, every Saturday there was an alcohol-fueled domestic abuse. And in 30 years of the job, he never saw a marijuana-fueled domestic abuse. So he said, how can we legalize one that, causes violence, and the other one that does not? So that's kind of been my feeling on it the last 2 decades. But speaking of legalization, or I guess legislation, Florida, because of its lack of, legislation, which New York, has just pretty much bears down on you in every possible way. Florida has attracted a lot of investment talent. A lot of money has moved down there, lower taxes, much more business-friendly infrastructure. I mean, you have, socialists who are taking over New York right now at this point with Cuomo's departure. So do you see the Florida trend to continue?
So Florida's an interesting, I'm a Miami boy, born and raised, been here 51 years, my entire life.
I have a good buddy, James Koutalis, who moved there from Chicago, and he has never been happier.
He hasn't. And James is a fellow global board member with me on the Hedge Fund Association.
Is he really? It's such a small world. I had a feeling you might have run into him as another hedge funder, but
yes, he's a much better dresser than me, but I know James, yes.
He is a wonderful dresser, yes. And I've noticed he's markedly happier living in Miami than Chicago.
And he has become a sort of unofficial ambassador for Miami on a scale in which I never was. And I'll tell you, for more than 10 years, I've worked with a division of the government for Miami called the Miami Downtown Development Authority. And they're kind of like a chamber of commerce. And their mission is to attract businesses, create jobs, and obviously they want to do it. Miami's quite interesting. People envision Miami, who are New Yorkers or from other places, and they see South Beach, they see Ocean Drive. That's their visual. Miami Vice, South Beach, that sort of thing. Miami's much bigger than that. And downtown Miami is sort of our midtown. So if you compare it to New York, so we've got the high-rise buildings, we've got the sort of young urban infrastructure, and James has become a huge champion for that. I'm very proud of him. But in the 10 years that I collaborated with the city, we did events to attract people to Miami in New York and Connecticut, China, and those events were always filled with people. The people that were relocating from the fund industry were the emerging managers, the people that could pick up and move and didn't have to worry about attracting a lot of talent because the talent was happy with moving. That changed. The moment the pandemic hit, I was doing a Zoom call once a week, quite often spurred on by James sending me and the person at the Miami Downtown Development Authority, the person. And these were multi-billion-dollar firms. And they already had decided to move or decided to open a satellite office. They wanted to ask us, where are the good private schools? What are the neighborhoods we should live in? Where can we find the talent? And that has accelerated to a point where I think, provided they're comfortable withstanding the occasional hurricane, that the population here in the sort of sophisticated financial set is probably, I guesstimate, close to double what it was pre-pandemic. I mean, if you incorporate in the people that have come down sort of from the crypto and digital asset space, which is another avalanche of people relocating, I think we probably doubled the sort of world of finance, digital assets, and funds in Miami just in the last, close to 2 years. And I don't see that decelerating. I think that now one thing that Alex, you probably noticed, companies are realizing, and this was the trend, I've seen government reports 10 years ago indicating that we were moving to this as a society moving to a model of more remote work, well, it was forced upon a lot of us and people adapted. And so as you see the return to the office policies from some of the major Wall Street firms or other big companies, there's been more flexibility. And on occasion, or in many cases, people are these companies are more than happy with having remote workforces. So we lose a little bit. We lose the camaraderie, the coffee, getting together in the break room aspect of it. I think there's something that's missing that we have to get a little bit back to, human contact. But I don't think we're going back to a full 100% model of you have to get on the train and you have to go into the city, or you have to get into your car if you're in Miami and you have to drive onto Brickell. I think that's changed.
Yeah, we're going to be much more of a hybrid model. I definitely agree with you. And I also think we're going to have much more of a split model where I've been hearing that a lot of funds are just going to have both the New York and Florida office. And, as with inflation and the rich getting richer, funds can afford the expense. And so why not have both? And so, we'll see if in time they end up and fully migrate to Florida. Be curious to watch, but definitely it seems that Florida has emerged post-pandemic as kind of not kind of definitely a major financial center.
I think you're right. And you all, you're probably aware of Mayor Suarez and, his late night tweet where he said, "How can I help?" And suddenly there was an avalanche of people relocating to Miami. And, you've got the mayor as your concierge. Of course, you're going to take him up on that if you're considering it. So I think that I don't think we're, make no mistake, New York City is never not going to be New York City. It is always going to be a major financial center, a huge place for people to do business and to live or commute into. So I think that Miami is just hitting a next level. It always had a business center, very much tied to businesses that were focused on Latin America and the Caribbean because of our geographic position. But that's changed. Now it's much more global, I think, than it has been.
Miami is the new Los Angeles in so many ways.
There you go. Well, the old Los Angeles is still there, but I hear you.
Well, this was a great conversation, Mitch. You're always awesome to talk to, and I really appreciate you coming on for our conversation.
My pleasure.
So be well, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. And if you ever want to do it again, I need to invite you to speak for me at the Hedge Fund Association, because
you're too kind. Well, before do you have any last words for our audience? Do you have any parting thoughts? Do you have a website you want to plug? I apologize, I should have asked earlier.
No problem. So I would just send people to the Hedge Fund Association, hedgefundassoc.org. Yeah. Also to Help for Children, hfc.org. And a leg to stand on, altso.org. And those are my three predominant sort of nonprofit, trade group, and charitable endeavors.
I feel like almost more than half of your posts are related to charity than to work. And one of the reasons I've had great respect for you the last decade and a half. So be well, Mitch. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.